right, good evening to those in Liberia. We say good afternoon to those in the US and other parts of the world. Welcome to Liberia Indeed Shall Rise. I'm your host, Augustine Sharif. I'm here with my brother and good friend, Mr. Emmanuel Sapalucia. Sap, how you doing today, boss?
I'm wonderful. Our weather is very cold today. You know, Houston, we switch weather like when you switch the city.
Houston?
Yeah, it's
Houston,
cold
Texas?
today.
What's the
Houston,
definition of
yesterday
cold,
weather
man?
was nice. Yesterday weather was nice. Last night it rained heavy. This morning the weather is cold. It's in the 40s today. So
Oh, in the 40s. Oh, yeah,
the
that's cold.
40s.
That's cold.
It's cold for
For
us.
Houston.
Yeah.
I wish I could show you my window because I open my window. If I show you out there, you'll see snow on the rooftop
Oh
and all of
yeah, yeah. My son sent me a photo from Wyoming. He showed me. He said, "Oh, it's snowing here." I said, "Ah, you got good luck." Yeah.
Yeah, but folks in Liberia, I know it's 7 p.m. You guys getting ready to hit the streets. You're getting ready to go to your favorite water hole and just have good Somebody said, "What you laughing at me, man?" Oh man, people can be hungry in that country, but the thing that dominates the country is the water hole, that favorite water hole.
Yeah.
So, so
Yeah.
basically, let's just forget it. That's I saw a quote. A post this week, and this guy was showing something, people jamming in Liberia. And the guy said, let me hurry and go back to Liberia because the thing we're doing in America, we're not living.
Oh, we're not living. We're suffering. We're
Uh,
suffering.
but anyway, welcome to the broadcast, folks. Welcome to the platform, Liberia Shall Rise. I'm Augustin Sharif, Mr. Emmanuel Sapalucia. Today is Table Talk. And so Table Talk, we just come with random conversation. We come up with different things that we want to talk about that actually is important. Maybe something we saw in the news in Liberia, something that someone have said in Liberia. And so today, though, we are going to be talking about our tradition. But before we get started, though, I want to read a quote here by Jaroslav Pelikan. He said, "Tradition is the living faith of the dead." Just listen to this for a second. Tradition is the living faith of the dead. Traditionalism is the dead faith of the living. I want you to hold on to that. If you want me to post that quote, I'll post the quote. Tradition is the living faith of the dead, and traditionalism is the living faith, is the dead faith of the living. I want you to think about it. I see my man Sapalucia, his eyebrow raised because he's a scientist. Scientists they don't get those things. Us atheists we read it and we like it makes sense. But he will struggle today on the show. So so we want to talk about Sapalucia introduce the topic that you want us to discuss today, and then I got some serious argument towards the topic, but I think it should be fun. So introduce the topic and let's just have fun.
Yeah, so I think it's been about 2 or 3 weeks now, and this have been in the news. I know it don't, this particular conversation don't make the news because it's not tied to corruption or witch hunting or whatever, but it is a national concern. It should be a national concern for us who are from Liberia, who practice what we practice, and who make or who we are as we identify ourselves. So it's about the traditional or the ban of some harmful or traditional practices. And some may ask what is defined and who is defining these things to be harmful. Is it a community? Is it a person? Is it a group of people? And if it is harmful, what measure, what biometer are you using to measure this harm that is causing to society? What impact does it have on on society? Are there other ways that we can address this issue without banning those practices? And if it was so, were these things discussed among the ethnic group or those people who are doing these practices before introducing a bill? These are the concerns that we should be addressing. And I want us, for me, I'm going to target it from that end, from that point before coming to address whether for or against when it comes to banning traditional practices.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we get it. We get it. So there's a ban out. I mean, there's a bill out there,
Yes.
and the bill is actually asking for the banning of harmful practices in Liberia, harmful traditional practices in Liberia. And look, I see the pro and the con. But again, I agree with you, Sabalusha. Maybe there has to be a clear delineation. There has to be this definition of what we see to be harmful. And look, why for me, I'm on the other side of things. I'm on the psychological side of things. I know you're going to be on the scientific side of things. You're going to come from a traditional angle. One of the things that I can say, I was never educated in the ways of our people the way I should have. And when I say this, I'm saying, there are people, there are certain places in Liberia when men are having conversation, and I'm saying men, I'm using air quote, when
Hmm.
having conversation, someone like myself cannot be in that conversation. You understand what I'm saying, Lucia? And I'm giving full respect to our brothers that went into the poorer society. That it's not like a secret. This was not a Masonic kind of thing. They were not there killing people. These
No.
people, they went to train how to be good. I don't know much about it. One time we did a show on this, and someone from Maryland called me, Maryland, USA, called me and said, the next time you do this show, you need to call me because I know more about it. I wish I could get him on here today. So in those kind of conversations, I'm saying, Sabuli said, when I say I was not educated in the language of our people, that's what I mean. I did not have the opportunity to go into the poorer society and learn some of the traditions, the culture, how to be a man, how to care for your family, how to be a respectful citizen. Because these are some of the things, in my opinion, that these men learn. And they have that way of talking. When they talk, you say, wow, that's a man. I don't have that. And so someone like you who you'll be speaking from that perspective. And so I'm not going to take anything away from that perspective. But before we go though, without giving too much, we got to know you guys got your secret handshake and all of that. Before giving too much, talk just generally about some of the things that the cultural practices. Let's just focus on the Sandy and Pearl Society before we start going to this bill. We'll touch the bill, but I want to just give a little layout and be careful. You better say it right because somebody from Maryland will call you.
So yes, Sheriff, you are right when it comes to the tradition that we have and that we have we are losing our tradition, by the way. Let me just put that out there. And I'm a member of the Pearl School. I hate to, and I know people tell me, oh, when you say I would prefer to it as a school because people were being taught life lesson, right? Society, depending on how you define the word society, it is not a place where you go to learn how to live. It's something supposed to be secret, and that's what people try because people who from the outside are not opportune to get access to some of the information in there, and that's why I think maybe that's why they decided to kind of label it as a society. I think that's the way that society thinking from, but it is a school because people are taught many things, and it was so much beneficial to our country, right? Because there where people learn to farm, to hunt, to fish, to make mat, to build house, to take care of your homes, your community, to create brotherhood. I mean, it's a whole range of positive that is attributed to our
So you are
contributed to our
saying
country.
before the white man came, before there were any such thing called politics as we know it today, that was the school. That was where young boys went to learn to become a man, a rite of passage, if you will.
Yes, yes, young men and women, yes, in the
Mhm.
Sunday school and the Porter school, young men and women, they were to learn the value of family, the value of society, because you are taught to be leader. You are taught to be, I mean, anything that you can do to survive, to develop yourself as a human being. That's what was being taught in that school. Now, is there a negative to it? Yes, based on our now informed education, right? When it comes to healthcare, there where I would take it from. However, though, up to present, if somebody is trying to ban the certain part that I may think we can reform instead of banning, the part that we can reform, before you can ban it, let us get the data to tell me the harm that it have caused to these people.
So
Because
you, again, like I said to our audience, you're coming from strictly from the scientific point of things, right? You're looking
yes,
at the harm, you want to be able to measure it and see exactly what harm was created.
yes,
Because um, you know, when you before we even go into the negatives, I want us to focus on some of the positive, right? Because
mhm,
when you start to name the negative, maybe one or two things will stand out. And I want us to put that maybe towards the background here for a second. But let's focus on the positive, for example. A
yes,
young boy, let's say at what age, approximately at one age was a young boy. I'm going to focus on young boy for now because I don't want to touch the sandy society. At what age, as a boy, were you to actually join that particular society, and was it forced, or did your parents just give you up? And how long? What was the duration, in your opinion?
So it have changed over time. Okay, it have changed over time because I remember back in the days it used to be from 6 months to a year, a while back. But then I think in the 90s they reduced it based because of school. I think they reduced it to 3 to 6 months because of school because they wanted other people to go to formal school, so they cut it down, right? Just to fit in the Western and the how to call it school. Now there are outliers. Okay, there are outliers when it comes to these. Normally, if between early teen age and if that person is late, because it's a cycle. So, for example, they will have it maybe every 4 years or every whatever year, right? So there's a cycle in there. So the outliers are there where maybe there'll be a younger person, maybe once in a while you get maybe 3 4 years old kid that will join, but most of them will be around 11, 12 to late teen. That was the age group because they're preparing this person to be a man in society, right? And even if you look at people who bring this the religion into it, if you look at that, it almost fits the same criteria because at the age of 13, 14, in biblical history, there where you are preparing young men and women for maturity. And if you even look at the women's side of it, most of in fact, if we want to go by the biblical, Mary, when she had Jesus, she was around 12, 13 years old. So I don't know what you're going to consider as a childhood marriage or whatever, but that is not the point. The point is that is the age group where you're trying to educate people on who they can become to serve society. So around the age 12, 13, 14, that's most of the age group you'll find 15 years old, 16 to late teenagers, and then the outlier maybe you'll find one or two who is in the 20s and late 20s and stuff like that. But it
Okay.
was again forced. Whether it was forced, no. From what I know and what I have seen, and I have not seen a story where somebody was actually forced to go in. Now there are some again in every society that have outliers. For example, if they were carrying, because I know of one instance where back in the days they were carrying out the school, right, and there were people the session was going on, and if you are an outsider who maybe inadvertently entered the town unknown, right? Maybe
Mhm.
let's say the masquerades or they are in town and they're celebrating, doing their traditional celebration, and an unknown stranger enters and he is exposed to the ceremony. Yes, in those instances, and which are very rare, very, very rare. All right, I'm talking about maybe 0.01%. Very rare. Those are the people that may be forced to go because you have been exposed to something you're not supposed to see. So in that instant, they will take you and say, look, man, you have seen what you're not supposed to see, so you have to be part of this. Those are the instances that may happen. But to tell you that, because I got brothers who were in the town and the parents did not want them to go and they did not go until they later on decided to say, I want to go.
Okay.
My younger brother, he was there. He never went until he got older before he said, look, I want to go, and he went. So there are instances where people are living in the town and are not members.
Were
And I
there
even got
any,
relatives today who are not members.
and without disclosing much, I don't want to put you out here to say anything you're not supposed to say. Was there
Yeah.
any physical abuse that took place? Because my understanding was, this was actually not done in the town. They build a shrine, or they build a community somewhere in the jungle or in the bush. They call it
Well,
bush.
it is okay. It's outside of town because
Yeah,
people have to carry on their normal activity while this situation is going on. I
sure,
mean, we're talking. Let's say if you get for even if you have it for a month, you cannot close the town down for a month, right?
sure.
So it have to be exclusive. It have to be to a place where because you're going to take people. If I'm in the town, I don't want my child to be part of that. Well, it's my choice, right? So they can't force me. They can't make me, right? But again, that be I'm going to be upfront here. There are stigma that come with those things too, and we got to be real about it. We got to be upfront about it. If I'm in the town, or all my buddies and my friends, their children are going, right? And I say my child should not go. That's just peer pressure that allow me to do those things. It's not a force to say I have to do it. No, it's only because of I will feel stigma. I mean, the stigma that I can't participate in certain things, and they calling me this name and that name. That will encourage me to say, you know what, let my son or my child just go to be part of this thing. But it
But
was never a
there was
force.
no, And the point I'm trying to drive out here, there was no physical abuse that took place in that institution. It was just all mutual. It was learning experience. It was development of manhood. But there was not a physical abuse where they say, "Look, we took this guy, we'll touch him, we'll beat him out of it." I
No,
mean,
no, and again, they'll be real here. You and I were in high school. The roommate were whipped. You are disciplined. It's the same process. It's not everybody is being targeted like hissing. The what they do in college here, the hissing or the fraternal. It's not like a fraternal group where you go into and you got the wire passage the hissing. No, that is not how. From what
okay.
my experience is, that's not how it is. But
And
you got those outliers who are rude, and you have to discipline them. That's
yeah.
those are things I would expect.
And in my understanding, again, I don't know much about it, so I will come a completely ignorant here.
Yeah.
Compared, that's why I started the show by saying I was not educated the way I should be educated. And but what I have seen in our culture, for example, in our country, we have several group. I mean, how many tribes we have in Liberia? 16? 16
16.
local. So we got 16 local tribes in Liberia, or dialects in Liberia. I don't like to say tribe, but dialects in Liberia. And each tribe, it seems as though they did it a little differently, because you will see some people will actually have a mark.
The
Some people will
GC.
have, yeah, the Kisi will have a mark. And then some group they will have in on their back. The mark will be on the back. I don't know if it's a pele or but everybody did it differently. Some people have no marking. They have nothing to show. Now, people have seen those markings and said, man, it was so torturous, it was abusive, because someone is in there, there is no sterilization, and you using utensils that were not sterilized to mark these individuals and put these markings on them. So that could carry a health consequences. It could be very, very abusive. It could also come across as torturous. And so, someone like myself who know nothing about it. And now I am putting a bill together and say, look, there are some abusive practices that go in there, and we need to ban this particular school of thought. So let's talk about that. My assessment when I said those marking without sterilization could come across as being torturous. What would you say about that?
And that's why when I started, I said, now the decision based on our informed health education that we have now, there are some practices that we could reform. And that's what I started with, right? Yes, there are markings that get on the body. And based on my health information that I have now, that I would say, well, is it necessary for us to take that to do the same thing that we were doing those days? That right? And I would think that but it should be discussed. Now, if those are performing as that or tradition were coming and complaining and saying, "Oh, I've been abused," that's a different thing. But I have not heard of any group or anybody coming from there and say, "Oh, I've been victimized by my tradition." No, I have not heard that, and I have not seen that. Right now, I believe we can reform it just for the health benefit. That's something we can do, but it should not be banned. It should be something that should be discussed with those that are involved. If you're not part of it, that's your problem. Every
But
society will go in, even in Christianity. You got things that somebody will tell you is abusive. So should we
but
ban
Police,
Christianity?
let me ask you for a second though. Let me just
Yes.
put you there for a second, boss. I mean, if for some reason a child who grows up in a particular society where this particular thing is the norm, let's just put
Yeah.
it that way. It's the norm. It's the norm. I mean, oh, Opa went there, Junior went there, we all went there. It is expected, and they look at it as a rite of passage. You
Yeah.
have to be man enough. If when you come from there, you belong to an exclusive group, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so now, how could they have come up and say, something was abusive? Now they can't complain because it's expected that they will go through it, and this makes them a man. You come from a military background. I got two young people here in my church who, when they decided they were going to be in the Marines, they went, and one broke his leg. He came back, and today he said he didn't go. The other one, he said he couldn't handle the training. He came back. So every institution, like you said, there's something mentally. Sometimes when you go to the boot camp, they want to break you down psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And so because of that, they're trying to make some changes on how boot camp is operated and stuff like that, right? And so
Exactly.
and so, can you look at the same thing when you talk about that? Nobody ever came out to say it was abusive. How could they have said it was abusive if this is the institution that they operated on?
Well, okay, so we can look at observers, right?
Yeah,
Let's say maybe observer people who there are some people who went there and
yeah.
said, oh, maybe let's say the guys, for example, the outliers I told you about, who may have been exposed and was introduced there, right? He doesn't have to live by those rules. Those people can be out. Those outliers can come up and complain.
I mean, was
They
there no
could.
consequences if you went in and come back? You couldn't come back out. Once you were in, you were in.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But after the fact, though, after the fact, you can come and say, "This is what happened. This is what I didn't want to be there. This is what happened to me. This is what happened to me." Now, again, it's in every society, whether it is the religious society, is there. But we don't ban those things because of what happened in there, right? And you know, Sherry, if you look at the Constitution, the way the Constitution is written, how we should respect the tradition and the rights of people, and I'm saying, and this is my argument. This is the argument that I want to make
Mhm.
to this bill. If you're telling the Liberian traditionalists to remove or ban certain behavior in their culture, and if they don't move it, if they violated that, there will be penalties for that. Could we apply the same thing to the churches where, according to the scripture, it tells them this is what you cannot do, and they are still doing that, but we don't see any punishment? So, should in this bill, just that we do in the United States, we should also put some of those bill in there too. They say, okay, this is a religious practice. This is what your Bible says. If you violate this, this should be the consequence. The next thing you will hear in Liberia is this is a religious attack. This is persecution of the Christian or religion. So how is there not a persecution of traditional people?
Well, I mean, no matter how you split the apple now, if for some reason we find out, let's look. I'll give you an example. Within religion, people have used religion to actually perpetrate some of the worst crimes. You and I know about the Crusades. Forget that. I mean, horrible. We have read about the Dark Ages. Horrible. But I will tell you this. Today, you and myself, we hear some of the cult, right? The cult, for example, you have someone that just Waco, right down the street from your house. Waco, right there. When David Koresh and everybody decided that they were going to be there and just abusing people and doing everything else, oh yeah, the government went after him in an attempt. A lot of people got killed, so maybe that may not be a good example. But there were consequences for using religion to try to hide behind crimes. Jeff, I think his last name was Warren, the LDS man who was just marrying 13, 14-year-old teenagers, all these kids in Utah. The government went after him because it was abusive. So you can't hide behind your religion to try to perpetrate crime. So I say that to correct some of the religious examples you're giving, right?
No. What I'm saying is it should be applied in Liberia. I'm not talking about the United States. I said in Liberia because
Sure.
now you're going after the traditional people. Because we know, you and I here know of instances in Liberia where religious pastors are raping women. They are loving to the choir members. And there are evidence to prove that. So if you're telling the traditional people we're going to ban your tradition because it's harmful to the citizen or the society, then we should also enshrine in this particular bill that the religious people should be held accountable. Because as soon as you put that there, that's what I'm saying. If you put that there, then the next thing we hear religious.
Your argument is as long as we get no noise from the church members that says, hey, what my pastor did to me is harmful and everything is kosher,
exactly.
we should leave it the same way.
We should leave it. Because first of all, I think, and this is what I think. I think, and again, I said it before. I said that we can make some reform, right? We can do that. However, it should not be the government to come and tell people your tradition is wrong. Because first of all, we are losing our value. And it's and I can and I will, and if you want to come after me for saying that, I'll let them come. But I can almost tell you, it may be some pressure group who receiving money from the outside, from the Western world, that is infiltrating this thing to be now practical in Liberia. That we're doing it for dressing for education. Well, if you really want to tell me that this particular bill is for young girls to have access to education, in my opinion, that is not true. Because in my hometown, Baila, the school building that is there, that building was built in the 1960s. It has never been developed. Never been developed. So there is no even access to that school building. There is no, they talk healthcare in my hometown. There is no clinic. So if the bill is to represent those things, let us see it happening. But if it is not happening, then you're not telling me the truth.
Okay, I will take the education piece and put it on the shelf right here. I will come back to it. Dr. Positive, welcome to the show. I will take that education piece and put it right here. Dr. Positive, we're not hearing you. But Sapo Lucia, I want to do this real quick, right?
Yeah.
Just recently, we had a report that came up that talks about, okay, anyway, before I go to the education piece, let's go to the bill. In your opinion, and I think what you're advocating here for is there was not enough consultation made. Do you know if there was instances of constant? I'm so sorry, folks, for the noise in the background. My little guy is just happy. But do you know if there was instances in the background where the traditionalists were consulted and their opinions were asked, or maybe there was someone who became part of that society who actually came and said, "Look, this was a horrible thing," before this bill was proposed? Do you know of any such thing?
Well, from reading the various newspapers and hearing from some of the people from those regions, there was not. But even if you read the statement from the president for the bill, it states that when this bill is passed, they will be given 6 months to start consultation. That's that's what it is a bill. It will be given 6 months to start consultation before they can start enforcing. So that means you did not consult the people who are involved. You're only pushing something down their throat. You don't do that. What you do first before bringing the bill is go to the various sector and ask these people, okay, look, this is our concern. How can we address this? Let us address it from that point. Let them come up with views. Let the Zoe and those people that are involved come and tell you, look, yes, we know this practice is like this. We know what is happening, but let us come up with a concession. Okay? The government can say, look, this is what we propose from the health view, for the educational view. This is what we propose. Then let the town people say, okay, this is what we can do. It happened, like I told you, it happened in the 1990s. Okay? During Charles Taylor time, during Charles Taylor time when he came to power, the Spur school and Sunday school used to be about 6 months, 6 months to a year. But because of for the school season, they switched it around. So that was consultation. So they made a consultation and had a concession. They said instead of lasting 6 months, let us do maybe a month or two. And I know some of my relatives that went to the shorter version because we said, okay, I didn't make guy can go to school all throughout the year, the 9 months of school, go for 2 months in the school, and then he or she comes out, they will still have ways to go back to their tradition, their Western education, which was agreed upon. Now, for this bill, there is nothing such as consultation with the people who are involved. And you can't do that. You don't make decisions based on what you hear in Monrovia. No. And we need to decentralize the discussion.
Okay, so let me go back here to this point I'll try to make on education. You know,
Yeah.
you and I, we just did a whole show here on the we did a show on the scorecard, 2024, 2025 scorecard. We sat here, we reviewed that. You know exactly where I'm taking this conversation. And one of the lowest scoring marks that we saw was teenage girls secondary school completion. Very
Yeah.
low, very
Yeah.
low.
Yeah.
So could this bill, since we now said we want to make sure the young girl go to school, she finish her school, we want to focus on the education piece of that. Could this be in the direction? Could this be the trajectory that we want to take to say, look, by so doing, taking them out of the bush and bringing them to the classroom, this is one way we can increase that high school completion rate.
Sheriff, education does not come by just saying we want girls to go to school. If you look at the 2026 budget, we got 25 tertiary education or schools or colleges with the Ministry of Health, with the Ministry of Education. Their budget is $132 million. $132 million for 25 institutions, including the Ministry of Education. You cannot be serious to address education in Liberia. Because that budget alone is not even good for the University of Liberia. But guess what happened? Just the legislature, 100 people, 103 people, $51 million. So you're not serious about girls going to school? Let's be realistic. We gotta be upfront. And I just gave you a simple instance. In my hometown, the school was built in the 1960s. That school have not been renovated since that time. The zinc that is on top there, sometimes we are the one that can send money. We, the citizens of that, can send money to patch. And besides that, when I was there 2024, only 3 of the teachers including the principal, were employed. Everybody else were volunteer. So you can't tell me you really want to address education. Their bill is not intended to address the education needs of the Liberian girls. That is just used as a smoke screen so that those religious people who want to push their agenda can get behind this bill and say, "Oh yeah, we want our girls to be educated." Now let me tell you what they can do if they really want to address this. I can tell you this, Sheriff. If the Liberian government and the Liberian people are really serious to address childhood education and even give education to the citizens so that they can get away from these practices, it's simple.
Okay.
It's simple. Make education attractive.
And make it affordable.
Make it affordable. Make it accessible. Not just affordable, but accessible. Because first of all, it's not even accessible if it can be affordable. So make it affordable, make it accessible, make it attractive. Let the student go to school and find good chairs that they can sit in. Let the student go to school in Baila where they can have access to internet. Because most of the children nowadays, they got cell phone in their hand, they play on the Facebook. What even if you took it, look, Sherry, let me just tell you this now. Let me just put it out there
for the people don't have any connection in Bon County. Come on, man.
Oh no, they do. They got in my hometown will get tower. There's a tower.
Wow.
They got two towers in Baila.
I'm impressed.
Yes, they got two towers in Baila.
That speaks to my ignorance.
One of them is on the land that we own. Okay, so they got two. So all the little girls got cell phone that they can go on the internet for, right? So even if you take this, even if you take the Sunday school from there, those children, as long as they got cell phone, they will not even go to school because when they go to school, they got nothing to encourage them to be in school. They have nothing. Even when like I was looking at the budget, 2026 budget, you go there, you see they're showing the employment rate of women, which is almost like 50% less than the male. So if you go in Baila, for example, the young girl go to school. Let's say hypothetically she go to school and graduate. What is she going to do when she cannot get employment? So before you can tell somebody, say, take your child from the Sunday school and put it in school, you must have something. Before you can ban it, have something for them. Get an alternative. But there is no alternative.
Here's my thing. I didn't want to touch the Sunday society today because I don't know much about it. We don't have anybody here who can speak for the ladies. At least for you can speak for the men. But in my opinion, if you ask me, when the girls graduate from the Sunday society, what do? The first thing, in my opinion, I would tell you, they are trained to be wives. So they are just trained to get married and be good wives, have children, take care of. I don't know much about it, so I don't
no.
I'm not going to speculate.
Yeah, that's bringing it down. Okay, I live with people who went to that school. There's a lot to do with more. In fact, they are independently trained to make baskets. The basket I used to see, you and I were in Monrovia the other time, we're going to the different art centers, right? They can design those baskets. They can design mats. They can design nets. They can design hats. They can sew clothes. Man, don't limit them.
And they also learn to be midwives, right?
Exactly, midwives. They learn how to fishing. You make them industrial individuals, independent people. So that's what people don't know about it. And I'm not saying everything is glamorous, no. But what I'm saying is, the one that the people feel that is negative, it can be reformed. But the reformation cannot be done by somebody sitting in Monrovia. It can be done by discussion with those people who are involved. Let them be part of the discussion. That's what I want us to do.
Okay, so let's do this. Dr. Paul says something. I want to see if I can hear your voice.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Good. We got
you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So Sharif, for the first time, I want to tell you I will be on Sapolosia's side on this one.
Okay.
You just made a statement that is completely wrong. The women that went in, the ladies that went in the Sunday society, they were not just made to be housewives. Those women could take care of their family. They could not just the family part, but they could prepare to be good citizens. They learn weaving. All the African cloth you see, right? The only mistake our people made was they didn't turn it into a big business. But the kente and all those stuff, then I see, I know the kente is from Ghana, but they have their own set of system that they use to teach people those stuff. But the Liberian cloth that we all see today, those people were taught how to wear how to make those cloth, right? Mm. The only mistake, like I said, that we maybe need to add to make this thing advance is teach them how to mass market their product. And that's where the government have to partner with these people, because those are skills. Those are things that have been passed down over generations that we need to keep. But for somebody to just come and say, let's wipe this school out without going into the detail, without going into understanding what these people have been doing, it is wrong. You understand?
Okay.
And this is why, as a Liberian, even when I wear the Grable outfit, right? You see
Mhm.
people coming up to me and say, Mama, you're not Grable. Why are you wearing this outfit? We have no tradition to hold on to. For me, the Grable style is one thing that I see that I've been pushing. But besides that, what other traditional outfit, what other traditional thing that you as a Liberian can say, hey, this is our Liberian tradition? Can we hold on to it? And the last thing that we have, that's what these guys are trying to whip out. And I don't think it's fair.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Positive. Thank you, Mr. Sapalucia. I think basically, though, now that we have talked about some of the good, let's look at some of the negatives. And look, that's why from the very beginning of the show, I read a quote to you, and it said, "Tradition is the living faith of the dead." Tradition, living faith of the dead. Traditionalism is the dead faith of the living. So you think about that. When the labor moment go out, you let me know. But let me tell you, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this, Abulusia. I see the good and the bad, but let's just focus on the FGM, right? And to parents out there, hopefully you understand exactly what FGM is. We have a lot of young people that watch our program, so I don't want to go into the detail there. But the United Nations reports, the UN report, that over 230 million girls from around the world, predominantly in Africa, have gone through that FGM process. They have gone through the process and they have seen the health causes. They have seen the negative effect that it caused to those young girls and women, eventually women. They have seen how it negatively affect them. You can read it in the report. I'm not here to go into the detail of that. And because of that, the UN have actually brought up this campaign, this awareness to make sure that we get rid of this practice. This is a horrible practice. It does no good. You brought religion in. There's nothing in the Bible that says these things happen in a good book. And so why should we continue to do that? If someone come out and say, look, this is a negative part of the tradition, get rid of. I don't think the bill is asking to get rid of all the tradition, to ban every tradition. We would not be a country if we don't have a tradition. But it's saying get rid of the negative portion of this, the one that is negative. So how do we deal with that? And I'm trying to be careful here before my sisters start yelling at me and saying, you have no idea what you're talking about. Because they will be right. I have no idea what happened in the Sandy society. But the negative effect of that, we have to talk about that, Sapalucia. What do you say to that?
So this is the thing. And you see, things like the United Nations, for me, I don't even know why Liberia and other African countries are part of the United Nations. That's the first thing I would say about that, because they never push the agenda to promote us. They push the agenda to keep receiving their donors or their donor money. So I don't care about what the United Nations says. If the United Nations really care about young girls and they want to really enforce for young girls to be educated, all the money they say they're spending in Africa, they will make sure that that money is used for the education to educate those people. If it doesn't educate them, they should withhold that money. That's one. When they talk about health of the young girls in Liberia, do you know that about 630 young women die in Liberia every month? The United Nations is there. WHO is in Liberia. What have they done to improve the healthcare system in Liberia from the time they've been there for I don't know how many years? Let the very United Nations show me how many women die from FGM every month. So they shouldn't bring smoke. I'm not. What I'm saying is we can reform it. But if you can give me data, I can also give you data that you, United Nations, you have control over that you are doing nothing about. So let the United Nations sit aside and do what they want to do with the
But
world.
Sabalucia, two things. So I'll bring Stephen in here. But two things I want to say. Number one, it is not the UN position to actually improve your healthcare system. And the UN, yes, they put money into your country, but if your people are corrupt and they can't use it for a lot of purpose, then you can't shift the blame and say the UN should make it better. They can't make it better if your people are
That's
corrupt.
what I just said. That's what I said,
Right.
Sharif. I said if they really wanted to happen, whatever money they're pumping, if they really wanted to happen, they should withhold the money. But you can't tell me, Sheriff, let me be realistic. If I'm giving you money to do something every year, and if I know I have no skin in the game, and I can't see what you're doing with that money, why should I keep giving it to you? It's because they themselves, they are involved in the stealing of the money. That's why they keep going to the people and giving them a scorecard of this and that. So that's why I said, look, the United Nations, I don't care what they say. I don't. Because they are not there for Africans. They are there to push their agenda, to make us
Okay.
continue to tell us that we don't work it. So until they can tell me in Liberia, 4.25 women or girls are dying from lack of access to healthcare every hour in Liberia. Okay, I don't see that number coming from FGM. So
Okay.
until they can prove to me, yeah, until they can prove to me this is the cost, then we can have that discussion. Other than that, if we want to do a reform of FGM, I'm on board.
Okay.
But
So,
those
so
those that are doing it, let them be involved in the discussion. That's my argument.
okay, let me bring Stevie on board. Stevie, let me bring you up again. Before I bring Stevie on board here, I want to just highlight this statement real quick. This is coming from someone who celebrates her culture. Every time you see her on Facebook, she's doing her traditional dances, dressed in her traditional outfit. Someone who celebrates her culture. And though I can't speak for it, again, I don't know anyone who been to that school, the Sandy school. However, though, this person is saying FGM is diabolical, remove that portion, and then the tradition stands. What's wrong with this statement, Stephen? Why can we not just follow this and say, no, this thing needs to be removed?
Sharif, I'll do myself a justice. I didn't read this bill, right? So that's the first part that I didn't have time to read the bill because I was traveling. So, but I wish I could read the bill to see what is really in the bill, right? But if this bill is saying ban all traditional schools, that's wrong. If the bill is saying ban FGM, right? If the bill is saying ban FGM, then that's fine with me, right? And before I even go to the banning of FGM, I will go to the traditional leaders and say, hey, in the Western world, we circumcise men, right? We circumcise men. What was the reason behind you doing FGM to women, right? Know the reason and then tell them the health impact it have on women, and then say this act would no longer be practiced in your society and in your schools. And once you agree to remove that act, any woman that come here and that is done to her, the whole organization will be arrested, or the head of the organization will be arrested and penalized, right? Then the school can go on. But to just say basically because one item, and I did a search too, I only see one item that is mentioned that as the negative of the traditional school, which is FGM. And if FGM is the only negative of this great thing that has been going on for generations upon generations, then let's talk to the traditional leaders and tell them the health implications. Right? Because back then people didn't know. So why if those people that decided on that say, oh, say men can get circumcised, let's circumcise women too, right? Maybe that was their reason. So we don't know the reason behind them doing it. So I'd say go to the traditional leader. We still have some old people that are 100 years old or 90 and 80 years old that have been in our society. They will know the history. So let's find out from them why. And then going forward in the future, the new people that are taking on, we tell them to stop this practice. Because, like I said, my mom, basically, this woman without a husband, right? She took care of almost 10 children on her own. And I believe if she didn't go to that school, she was going to struggle. You understand? Because she knew how to do so many stuff. The Oma is so multi-talented. You understand? Um, she could do so many stuff, and I'm still baking her to teaching some of her things that she know. You understand? So I'm telling you, Sharif. But the thing is, our leaders, we always complain Congo versus native, Congo versus native. Majority of the people that are in government are native people, right? And they are the one that passing all this law to change things that will affect their own people without even getting their people involved. So who really impacting their people? Is it the Congo people or is it the native people that are impacting their own people?
But and see, that's my argument. That's what I was saying. I said I'm not saying look, and I said I prefer we reform that aspect, but it should not be somebody sitting in the West telling you this is not good for your people. And that's my problem I have with all these things. We are never
True.
making decision on our own. We sitting here and somebody telling us what to do. Can we reform it? Yes, but who should be making that decision? Let us discuss it. That's my point. I'm not saying we shouldn't reform it, but what I'm saying is let it be something that the Liberians feel that it benefit them, not because United Nations say so, not because somebody outside says so. That's what I'm saying.
Just a little that I know. Again, like I said, look, guys, if you notice today, usually I'm here, my mouth is sharp, and I'm spilling information here left and right. Trying to be very careful. The last time I touched this, I had a Zoe from Maryland called me and said, the next time you talk about that thing on our show, you call me. Stephen, you got the call and you pass it on to me.
Yeah, I called. Yeah, I called them, but they didn't pick up.
Very careful because this is a school that people really respect. And look, I said, if I was in Liberia, certain village or certain town, or even in Monrovia, if Sapolucia and his men, when they are standing talking, I can't be part of that conversation because they are talking. They are talking. You understand what I'm saying? They know they belong to a group. They belong to a society. They belong. And I don't want to call it society because he doesn't want to call it that. But it is something. But the later I know, Steve, when you said there's no benefit to you don't know the purpose why they did the FGM. When you go and read on it, I know they won't tell us. Sapolucia and his bosses and his friend and the teachers in the Sunday school, they will not tell us. They will not tell us why. But when you really come to look at it, it is perverted than we think. It is perverted than it is all about control. It is all to perpetuate this masculine thing that we do in Liberia and other parts of Africa. It is all about sexuality.
Sharif, I beg to defer. That was done by women, though. That is done by women in the society. It's not men that is doing it. So
let us not dwell on the FGM because that's not the only negative that is there.
No, but that is the primary one. That is the primary. Even the senator from Bond County, that is what she's pushing. You know?
So there are three. There were three main things, and there were 4 items that were listed in this bill. The other one is not really clear. Okay. The other 2, the other 2 are childhood marriage, which does not come from any of those schools, by the way. It's just a normal tradition. It's not based on the African tradition. It's also a religious practice. So I don't know how do we tackle that, because if you bring that in, it can be challenged by the Constitution when it comes to what you define it as childhood marriage.
The Constitution say you go marry 13-year-old girls. So.
The Constitution says you are allowed to practice your religion. Don't forget that. And it is covered, even in the United States, it is covered under that.
So marrying 13-year-old girls is not religious practice?
What they call it, the Momo do? They do it.
No, but they get in trouble. That's why I give the example already. They get in trouble for it.
The instance you gave, Sheriff, you gave, and I followed that story. The instance you gave was they charged those guys. However, the Mormon church is still exist and is still doing it in West Virginia, in Kentucky, in Pennsylvania, in other state in this country. It's still being done.
That's just one religious group. So forget about them.
But I'm telling you, so that's what I'm saying. So if a religious group is surviving doing that, you have to be careful, because Islam is a religion and it's part of their religion too.
But you guys are not going to throw me off. I will ask the question. That's why I'm not
stopping from asking a question, but I'm telling you.
My question is
before you start putting bills out.
So Sherry, that Sapolucia pause a little bit. Let me answer Sherry's question. The man say the thing is being perpetrated because men want to control women. And I beg to defer on that. You understand? Today I'm on your side, Sapolucia. Sharif is not my friend today. If the FGM is being done by women, right? How can we say that this is something that was imposed on women to go and circumcise fellow women, and then these women agree to do it when they know the pleasure and the benefit of what they are destroying? What proof do we have to say that? That's why I'm saying, Sherry, before we say that, let's go back to Manzo or Omar Jebe or Omar Musu and go and ask her and say, man, when you're in that thing in 1920, when you decided to do this, what was the reason behind your deciding to do this? And if it was because the town chief, who was a man, said, you must cut all their cut this because they didn't want our wife to be looking at other men, then that's a problem. You understand?
Stephen, so let me say this. It is not, you know, every society, whether it's back from religion all the way to where we are, every society have rules. Every society have guidelines. Men have always been the dominant forces, right? Even when you look in the Bible, when you start counting people, it is not, you will say the man, the man, the man. They don't count women. So I'm sorry. So we are having an open discussion here. Women are not even counted. Men, men, men. And so when you look at it, this was, I'm so sorry, guys. I feel like my screen noise in the background. But when you look at it,
That's fine.
it was a way of the men complaining that their women, their sexual appetite was too much. And there's studies have been done to get, even though you are
Man,
let me finish.
So, yeah, for me, I don't want to know the bill is not only centered around just
Yeah, I know,
alone.
but this is
So-
the key one. We're going to go to the next one. We got about 9 minutes, but it was all about controlling sexual appetite, Steve. I mean, they have interviewed people, they have asked those, they have asked people. Even though people think that this tradition is still secret, it's not secret anymore. The thing we're doing here, we couldn't have this conversation back in the 50s and 60s, especially someone like myself who have not been there. There's nobody. You couldn't have this. But it was all about control of sexual appetite, because the more the women got into this pleasure aspect of it, they would be promiscuous. So that was a way of suppressing promiscuity. So that's why they did.
Sherry, just to switch the topic, I think no man was stupid because right now in this
So
world we
can
are
we
to even
continue,
certify.
continue the discussion in the bill? We're not going to discuss what happened people emotionally.
So-
You want to have your
Yeah, no,
sexual
no.
discussion, we can have it another time.
No,
But
like, but
there are
Sherry,
two other elements
stop
in
a
there that
lot.
I think is important as well for the Liberian
No,
people to
I mean,
understand.
Yeah,
but
go over that part, stop a
Yeah,
lot
the
because
other
the
two are
response
very
have a
important as well.
Okay, let's go for the other one. Let's talk about
So-
the teenage marriage. We already talked about it a little bit, but go for it.
Yeah, the TA marriage, I don't want to dwell on it because they tie education to that. But another one was Sase Wu. Okay, Sase Wu was another element that they introduced, and their excuse is it has not been useful, or according to them, it have been used, and people have to coerce people, and they have given false or they have given false, how to call it, testimony, or they have incriminated themselves falsely. Which, if you want to tell me that is the argument, then I will also bring you back to the police themselves when it comes to interrogation, because they also use torture. They use torture and people falsely incriminate themselves. So if you want to ban that, I have not seen anybody in Liberia that have been tortured by police and being arrested and the police being prosecuted and brought to court. These practices are still going on. They still use torture as a means of getting information whether will be criminals in Liberia. So you can't ban Sase Wu because you don't understand it, the technology behind it.
So Sabalusa, I'm going to speak to this for a second, and then you can call me Roro, or you can vindicate me. I was on Front Street during the war. Well, on Front Street, April 6th war on Front Street, and where am I taking a mattress to go sell it? But there was someone, I mean, we were living upstairs, there's a lady living downstairs. This lady said her mattress was missing. And so she go down West Point. She bring one sassy woman. The man bring broomstick. He bring cutlass. I remember the story as did. I'm still traumatized by it. And he brought hot cutlass and he put it in the bellow, hot bellow, blow it up, make it really hot. And he said, if you store the mattress, when you put your foot down here, this color will be cold. I mean, it will be hot. It will put mark on your skin. But if you don't put if you didn't steal this mattress, we can put the hot collars on you and nothing will happen. You think I was stupid to put my foot down there? I told the lady I was not doing it. I was not doing it. I don't care what you say, whether I took it or I didn't take it. I'm not putting my foot in front of hot cutlass. And so I said that to tell you it makes no sense whatsoever. So you can say in Bon County, in the village, people can do it and they can pass. But I've seen one where they take the broom and they put it on someone's neck. If they did that particular thing, it would kill them. And so it is not scientific. Sapolisa, you of all people coming from the scientific.
No. That is not my argument. That is not my argument. My argument
no,
is
but that is the argument I'm making. That is the argument I'm making.
So now there's a science in the African culture that backs it up. Okay, you don't have to be broomstick. You don't have to be hot collars. The guy even leaves. They don't even attach the leaves to you. They just put the leaf together and put it to this person. If that's the person, it works. Now, do they have the fake ones? Yes. In every society we have it. In fact, in the internet we got fake things that are happening right now, and people are losing a lot of things. So yes, there are people who will exploit those things. You have it, but just because somebody exploited does not mean you should abolish it. It worked for our people.
Yeah. So
It was it
and
truly it,
Sapolosia, just to go back to our FGM topic, I agree with you on that one, right? No, it's not that somebody is saying, are we justifying FGM? I just want us to clear the air.
no, 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 no.
That Dr. Orita, we're not justifying FGM. What we are trying to say is FGM should be eradicated. If you listen to us in the beginning, we said FGM should be eradicated. And before it's done, they should go and seek the elders that implemented this thing and ask them why it was implemented.
That's
Sharif,
the
on the
part I
other
don't
hand,
understand.
said,
That's the part I don't understand. Why should the elders be consulted to look at something that scientifically has been proven that it is horrible, it is not
it-
justifiable? You can't do it. There's
so
no
The thing
Sharif,
is, you
Sharif,
see, Sharif,
Sharif,
you keep trying to
we
make
get
decision on
circumcised.
behalf of people.
We get
You make
circumcised,
decision on
right?
behalf.
As
You don't
men, we
make
get
decision on behalf of
circumcised.
other
Do you
people.
know if it's safe for us or not?
Yes, I mean, we don't have to. There's a whole culture out there that don't even circumcise that boy child. There's
Yeah, so we men get circumcised. Should I go and sue my doctor that did my circumcision right now? But should we find out why we are even circumcised? Like, should we find out that? So that's what I'm saying. Let's go back to the root and then pass a law that says, hey, this we have found out that this is wrong. But because if the people that are the implementer, they are the Zoe that passed the law in that village. I know Sapolosia is one that have passed in that area. So they have special people that are the rule maker, are the law makers, right? In those areas. If you bypass those people and you try to make a law, they will still enforce it in their camp. That's what I'm saying. So when you go to
if
them,
the enforcer
right?
will come
When you
after you and then will tell you that this is wrong, it's against the laws of the land, and we will come after you and we'll prosecute you for doing so.
And that's how
so
you bring that, and that's
Sapolosia,
what brings rebellion. This is that's the problem we always have, Sharif. You see, we keep forgetting certain things again, and I will say it. I am not saying we shouldn't have a reform, okay? But what I'm saying is those people who are part of it, let them be involved in the decision making.
yeah, thank you,
Let them
Sap.
be
Hey, man,
involved.
today
You can't
Sapolosia
just
and myself
make
really
decision on
agreeing.
behalf of people. That's how, and that is how we have lost our tradition over the years, because people sit in Morovia and they decide for the people in Bonkante. They sit in Morovia, they decide for the people in Bonkante. At the end of the day, I went to my home, a place where it used to be a bread basket. Because people are sitting in Morovia and making decisions for people in Baila, you go to my home now, you can't find one crawfish. You can't find anything. Because the people are making decisions for the people instead of allowing the people to be involved in the decision making. We can't continue
Sabalucia, look,
this.
Sabalucia and Dr. Boss Positive, there are several things that you and I will agree on. But when it comes to what this bill is against, unfortunately, I will be against you guys for this. I'm all for this bill. The bill is not asking to eradicate all traditional practices in Liberia. That is not what the bill is asking for. The bill is saying, it was very specific. It said remove the harmful aspect of the traditional practices. Those harmful things, just stop circumcising our women. Stop doing that thing to the girls. You're hurting them. And stop doing that. Forget the
Sharif,
teenage marriage thing. You don't, I mean,
Man, Sapolosia, my hand bent up. Sapolosia, my hand bent up. Don't jump in front of me.
marriage thing. And forget the sassy wood thing. It is not scientific. You will kill people for no reason. You will hurt them for no reason. Like the example I gave you guys. If I have stuck my foot out on Front Street with a hot cutlass and they say, come and chop my foot out because I know I didn't steal your mattress, I'll be walking with a limp today because somebody
no,
was
you
crazy
may,
enough to
you
put
don't know that because I have seen it work. I have seen it work. You may have.
I mean, there's
All
no
right.
I have seen it
So
work. I saw
Sharif,
it right in broadcast. I saw it several times. So it worked.
Sherry, my hand bent up. My hand bent up.
Go ahead, Stephen.
Uh-huh. So, Sharif, will you agree with me? You are a very educated man, very sound, like you get master degree and all. Will you agree with me that in every society there's leadership?
I agree. I agree.
In every community there's leadership, and those
Oh,
people that are in power, there's certain people like myself, Sapolosia, we cannot even speak to those people. We have to go through somebody else. There's a hierarchy of authority, right? So now, if that person in high authority say, hey, every female that come through this place have to go through this thing, Who am I, the basic person that implement the action to say, no, I can't do it? So that's why I'm saying we should go to the elders and say, hey, this thing has been scientifically determined to be wrong. From now on, we would like for your practices, your educational practices, where you teach the girls how to weave, where you teach the girls how to fishing. My grandma could make basket and all those stuff. Where did she learn it from? That same place. You understand? So all those important skills that were in that place should be kept. But then there's one thing that is bad. We are appealing to you guys that based on scientific finding, is not good for the women. When Sharif get married, he can't please his wife anymore. So because of that, y'all please don't do this thing. Right? And now,
Lucian and Steven, let me just say
hold
this.
on, Sharif. Let me finish. So well, when once you talk to the elders, and not just in one village, you'll call all the elders together in Liberia and put them down on this in this meeting. Have that discussion with them. Then they will take that thing and pass it down to their subordinates. If we don't do that, Sharif, we are just passing another bill, like Tapolosia saying, that people will revolt against, and you don't want that. You don't want that.
It's a CJ, let me just give you another thing that they did again, right? I remember during the George Weah time, they did the same nonsense. They passed a law where they said midwifery should not deliver anybody in a village unless they have a trained doctor. But you did not put trained doctors in these places. What I'm saying here is, if we want to reform, give the people an option, give them an alternative. Let us do a reform. But you can't tell somebody, stop this. No, if you do that, you get rebellion. You can't do that. You and I sitting here. The reason people break law is because, and I always use the alcohol example in America and other parts of the world. You go to Europe and other places, you don't see young people fighting to drink alcohol. You come to America, they're fighting to turn 21 so they can drink alcohol. Why? Because there is some law that tells them you can't drink alcohol until you turn this. You need to have the discussion with the people. Get the people who are affected involved in the discussion instead of telling them, you do this, you do this. It doesn't work. And today, because of that crazy thing they did in our Weah town, people were dying in my hometown and other villages. You can't do that. Go to the people and talk to the people. They are your citizens. Just because they elected you, does that mean you are God? No. Go to them and have the discussion. Let us have the discussion. We can do a reform. I am for a reform. I think there are some practices that should be removed. But if we're doing that, let us find a replacement. We who say we are Christian, Jesus Christ came on the ladder on the cross and he killed himself, right? What do we do to symbolize that? We symbolize by baptism. Baptism is the same as dying with Christ. We can do the same with the parish school and the Sunday school. Instead of or FGM, instead of scarring the skin, we can find an alternative. That's how you have sound discussion with your people and you get them on your side. But you start pushing things down their throat, then you get rebellion. You don't do that.
Okay, so gentlemen, look, it has been a very good discussion, and the Freedom FM in Monrovia, I think they have not hit a good day with this discussion. It has been good, but look, when it comes to the end of the day, I think we will all agree that there are some horrible practices when it comes to our cultural practices, and those things need to be eliminated. Whether you put it this way or that way, those things need to go. Whether it's FGM, whether it's teenage marriage, whether
corruption.
It's Sasewu. No, I mean,
corruption.
Today I'm dealing with corruption. Today my whole
corruption.
Thing
Why can't you eliminate corruption? You eliminate corruption.
My whole thing is on this bill. My whole thing is on this bill.
Corruption.
You know, I think.
In a Western practice, corruption is Western practice. And in Liberia.
I will block Sapolusia from my show today. But my thing is, Sapolusia, I'm telling you, you know, you just have to agree there is no alternative to FGM. Get rid of it. No alternative there to discuss. Get rid of it. Because it was selfish in nature to put that thing in the front. Our people were not. They were not.
A question. Somebody asked me a question, so let me answer that question.
Okay.
Caroline say, what is the alternative to FGM?
Oh, okay, good.
This is a question I've been expecting for people to ask. You know. Now, Caroline, let me address you directly. You see, I give the Christian, because most of the people that can be coming with it, they come from the Christian direction. If you look at the Christian world, the Bible says Jesus Christ came and he nailed himself to the cross. That's a symbol. The way the Christians symbolize theirs is by going and baptizing, to die with Christ and rest away with Christ. Now, if you had to ask me what we can do with FGM, instead of maybe the mutilation, maybe we can just put the wheel in Liberia. You can put a gap on, or just a little razor, or you can kill an animal. The person can sacrifice an animal on their behalf. There are other options you must give to people to make sense to them. You don't have to do FGM. That's why I'm saying we can reform it. So you can tell them, look, bring a goat, bring a cow, bring a female deer, bring a white chicken or something. Those are ways you go about representing that tradition instead of the FGM. That's why I'm saying we can reform it, give the people an alternative, show them what they can do better to make their livelihood better.
So Sabalusia, thank you for answering the question. But let me say this, okay, brother? You know, I hate to say this because, man, I'm learning so much about our country now, and it's scary, some of the things I've learned over the past 2 years. You know, after not being going to the country for so long, now that I started going, I just put myself in it. Do you know there are a group of people in the country? I'm not going to say anybody group here before they get mad at me. There are a group of people, and the way they actually keep tabs on their wives or their girlfriend, there was a time in Liberia they used to have something called 9 months. 9 months. So if when you slept with somebody's girlfriend, somebody's wife from certain tribe, I know the group, they gave you 9 months, you'll die for sleeping with their women. They called it 9 months. It was all over, very popular in Liberia. And then there was another thing.
I didn't know that.
How do I know? I know.
I will get to you so I can get an insight.
And then
so I can go to them for help.
There are other group of people in the country who can go take their women and go wash their women. So that anybody that actually go with that woman, that person, they either get stuck together or they get caught until the husband come and remove you. A lot of things happening in Africa. So you don't have to go and do the FGM to say, oh, because if the woman find out that this is pleasurable, she will carry herself out. There are other things that people are doing. And so, look, guys, we should agree. There are, I know only 3 people, 3 of my sisters in this country who came to America using the FGM story as their reason for asylum. And it was approved just like that. Because they both, when they came, they said, oh, I can't go back to my country because my country, they tried to do this FGM on me. And I said, no, so I'm running for my life. I can't go back. So if we get rid of FGM, some people's story will get lost.
Hey, Dr. Orita says you have some question that somebody needs to answer. I don't know what her question is.
Yeah, so Dr. Orita said we have to look at the intent behind the tradition. Are they deliberately doing it just to inflate pain? No. Give them an alternative to promiscuity, and then maybe Sasewu or something. So Sapolosia already, Sherry said I'm gonna get rid of the Sasewu. My sister, Director Orita, Dr. Segwe, Sapolosia said I'm gonna keep the Sasewu. Sherry said I'm gonna get rid of the Sasewu because he took somebody mattress and it nearly went.
We didn't want to get caught.
Okay, during war, we fighting war. A process going on. Then you say somebody stole your mattress. You can't put my foot down, speak and try.
So Sherry, we gotta perform the Sasewu. Yeah, Sapolosia. You gotta bring the Sasewu. So that the same way. Yes, the thing is, like I'm saying, we do not know if that was done just to inflate pain, or if it was done, as Sherif is saying, that the men were doing it just because they didn't want their wife to cheat. How many women that went through FGM that today they are the number 1 cheaters in the community? You don't know. We don't have the statistics, so I don't even want to go there. But we don't know. After doing that, they didn't even find out whether that wives they didn't cheat. So again, Sherif, that one for part, I would say, if that's the only reason they were doing it, the men were stupid because it caused more harm than pain.
Okay.
All right.
But folks, I don't know. Look, I think when it comes to the end of the day, we got 3 voices here. And then our sisters and other people that are actually adding their voices to the show, I really appreciate them for adding their voices. Because look, I can just speak to what I read in literature and what I read in other reports about the harm that this is causing. Right now, there are clinics There are clinics set up in the Democratic Republic of Congo. There are hospitals set up in Central Africa. There are hospitals set up in West Africa where people are trying to redo or do what was undone. They are really trying to redo what was undone. And look it up, research it. I kid you not. People are trying to redo what was undone. And that is, again, causing more harm. Is it something that you do? In my opinion, no. The harm was done, leave it. But don't continue it. Because our forefathers make the mistake, that doesn't mean we should continue it. Now, I agree with your point. Should the elders, should the Zoos be consulted on the bill? Maybe they should be. But should we compromise on the FGM? Absolutely not. Should we compromise on the Sasewu? Absolutely not. Should we compromise on the teenage or marriage? Absolutely not. Everything that the bill calls for, I stand for the bill. And maybe if we are voting today, you guys will win because you both have the same voice. But I am one who stand for the bill. Now, it was it wrong that the bill had to be presented without consultation? Yes, maybe I can see the backlash to that. Maybe by us causing this noise today, the drafters of those legislature, of those bills, they will now go back to the people and say, look, let's meet with the souls. Maybe that will cause some issue because the traditional leaders, they already called, they rejected that. They called on the president. They called on the president and said, look, you should respect our culture. And the president is not naive to the culture. The president was born into it. He grew up into it. He knows exactly what's happening. He's a student of that society, for crying out loud. So he
but some students forget their principles. So that is also there for the sake of money. Some students.
No, listen, Sharif, I didn't go in the Poro society, right? But to be honest,
only he can talk to me, right? He can blast at me if he
wants.
No,
but Sharif, where though? I'm about to make a great point in support of this thing, right?
Okay.
When I was in the interior, there were kids that were there with me, right? Those kids could build house from scratch. They could build houses from scratch. Me from the city, I knew how to read and read. That's all I knew. I never knew how to pull rope together to make trap. Those kids could set trap to catch animal. They could make basket to go fishing. They could jump in the water and come back up. Me from the city, when I jump in the water, you're not going to have a Liberia ride today. You understand? So, yeah. So imagine all those skills.
That is where we are going to tell us we're not going to see the
food. Yeah. You know, so Sharif, let Torso and Torso, right? It's about time that our leaders, you know, the only time we hear they question about Congo and Native that doing election. When the election over, the men passing law, they don't even care for their country people and their own family people. They don't care about them. You want to tell me if the people that wrote this bill, if they had gone and called a meeting to say all the parliament chief, all the zoo, we want to meet with you in how you call it, Idana, where all the river meet. You know, the river meet the ocean, all of them meet in Idana. So we want to meet you in Idana. They sit down with those people and say, hey, we know you're doing this thing to women. This is causing problems for our wives. This is causing problems for our daughters. We want you to stop this. You tell us the reason why you're doing this. And going forward, we don't want you to do it. If we see one girl coming from down there and say her thing was caught, you will go to prison. We don't care who you are. You can be the number one Zoe. You will go to jail. You understand? If they had done that, then you can say this bill is worth something. But without consulting these people, and like I said, the hierarchy in leadership, even in our church, Sharif, you can't do anything without a pastor. Then imagine in the Zoe bush, if you are the person that is appointed to cut that thing and you said no, you're losing your job or you could get killed. You don't know the implication of what the penalty is for crime in that place.
Yes, you see, Steve, you bring up a good point. You see, that's the problem that I have with this whole bill, right? The problem is not that we can't address those things that are causing harm. All of us want the good for our people, but if you're going to do it with respect. And I compare those two and say people want to talk about human rights, this right. How many people dying in Liberia from the practices that the very government is inflicting on them. Healthcare, education. Every year, how many books have the United Nations written about poverty in Liberia? And what have they done to address it? Nothing. They still pumping money there. They still giving people scorecards. And then we come and sit down here and talk about something that's not even affecting 20% of the population of Liberia. But you got 80%, 90% of the population suffering because of corruption. They're not banning that. Ban corruption. Then we can kind of sit and talk about traditional practices. But how many people, even the thing we're talking about said not even 20% of the population practicing it. But I want you to make issue because they want to use it while we're talking about it, the stealing. Go and revisit. We need to look at the budget again. We need to look at the 2026 budget. We need to look at it and scrutinize it page by page and let the people understand what's happening. You got 132 million allocated to education. 32 million, 132 million allocated to education. That includes the Ministry of Education and 24 other higher learning of institutions. Okay, but then at the same time, you got 51 million going to just the lawmakers. I mean, come on, tell me, how many employees does the lawmaker have? 103 people have that the Ministry of Education with University of Liberia, all the other universities that they have, that giving them 132 million. Do the math. I'm a math student. So we shouldn't be sitting here wasting our time to bring this smoke because the budget came out. As soon as the budget came out, it didn't stay too long. They brought out this bill. So while you're looking at this bill and arguing about it, they're passing the budget to steal money, more money from the country. This is thing we should be discussing here.
Okay, so I would say this, man. You know, I think it has been a good conversation, and I think at some point in time we got to end the conversation. We have to end the story, but look, the focus on this is right. And I know you guys were saying I want us to at least end in the next 3 minutes. So I want to take 1 minute of your time each and give each of you guys 1 minute. Let us try to wrap this thing up. Steven, your 1 minute start, and then Sapalucia, you'll do your 1 minute. And everything you guys are going to say in your 1 minute, I will come back and I will destroy all of it. And then we'll end the show.
Go ahead. Right. So I will start my 1 minute by saying to everybody that watching, thank you. We got some very smart women watching here. And Dr. Singbe said something. She said, Ellen Johnson said was president for 12 years. Why didn't she lead this effort on this FGM thing? Right. And this is why I'm calling on to you, Caroline, Dr. Singbe, and things that what Sherry said about this thing, FGM being perpetrated and being done by men is wrong. That women should spearhead their own things that are causing harm to themselves. It's about time that women take the charge. We should have female running Monrovia Street. All the rally they can do in Liberia, we should have them running the streets of Monrovia and say, hey, this is wrong. Let's bring our Zod and let's talk to them. This is wrong. And then eventually some action will be taken. But if we give these things to men, that's why we see the men passing the law without even consulting people. But we have.
What happened? He cut off?
Yeah, he cut me off. Man cut me off. My 1 minute over. Yeah, so it's about time that people that are being impacted by issues take actions in reference to what is affecting them. A lot of girls are going into prostitution because they don't have jobs. That should be the thing that is being discussed and they should be passing a bill to say, hey, we have to find job for our girls, we have to find job for our children. But they're not passing bill for those things, they're passing bill for things that is not even that much relevant. But I'm saying we need our women to take action, to stand up for this more and say, let's bring our Zoe on the table. Let's bring the elders on the table and have this discussion so this thing can end for good. Instead of Sherry blaming the men in here, it's about time the women take action.
I'm not blaming nobody. It's true. It is true. So, Sapalucia, go ahead. Your 1 minute.
Yeah, so I will first want to say thanks to all those who participated in our program today. Dr. Orita, I don't want to butcher your last name, but thank you. Brecco, okay, the name is simple. Dr. Brecco, Caroline, and every other person that commented. I want to say thank you for that. That's not part of my 1 minute, by the way. but to close, look, it is not that we are against the reform of these practices, the harmful practices to our country or to our people. But if we want to do it, let us do it out of respect. This is something that is a long-standing tradition Let us do it because of the impact it has on our people, and not because some Western culture is telling you to do it. And this is where we're losing our values. Every time we allow the West to tell us how we should handle our people, how we should deal with our people, and because we want to run to them for money. It is true. Somebody may be a student of the practice, but they can lose that value because they want the money from the people. And I will stand by that. I will not regret saying that at all. We can reform these practices. It can be done, and it should be done. And I think it's long overdue. Let us face the scientific. Let us put the scientific part of it, especially the health aspect. And some of the things I see in there about education, like do not be fooled. No government that push education is doing any of this because of education. Because in the last 20 years, we have not seen how any education system have been improved. Not one school building have been structured that we can see, and I can start from a district, come to University of Liberia, rest across the street. The University of Liberia is right across the street from the executive mansion and the Capitol building. If they are really serious about education, they should invest more money in there. JFK is right there in Cinco. It's not because of healthcare. So we should not be lied to and say, oh, because of education and because of healthcare, because it is not. It's because somebody is pushing some money from outside and they want that money. They're telling them, if we can't do this, we'll not give you this money. That's why they're doing it. But if they really want to do it, let us do it because it benefits our people, because it benefits the Liberians. And let Liberians be the one making that decision, not a foreign factor that is causing this change to be made. And with that, I want to say thank you for tuning in. God bless you, and let us discuss the budget.
And for to Dr. Dr. Orita Segbi Branco, thank you so much. The reason we don't have females on the show, again, it is not because we haven't tried, but we just have not received. At one point in time, we did have someone on the show, but then of course her schedule was too busy. She had to walk away slowly. So I mean, we would love to have another a female voice, a female or two on the show, but we just need commitment at this point in time. That is all.
I would say I would give a challenge to Dr. Singbe herself. She can join us. She fine. She will bring a lot of men onto our show. So please come on, Liberia Shall Rise. We need you.
Why is he interrupting my segment again? Okay, sorry. Okay. but anyway, so here's the thing. Gentlemen, thank you for discussing it. This was a painful conversation for me to have. And the reason it was painful is because I didn't have, number one, a female voice. I would have loved to have a lady who have been to the Sandy side of the thing to actually come and be part of the discussion today. I tried, but I was unable to get someone. Secondly, when you look at, I want to really focus on the FGM portion of this. When you look at FGM, Sabulussia, you begin to show by saying there is no statistic out there that says how many people die from this particular thing. But I will tell you, there are. You have the statistic out there. Somebody have done this job. And
United Nations.
But it has to be, and so we have the stat that actually show one of the key causes that happen to our sisters, severe pain. They go through a lot of pain. And then during childbirth, they actually struggle a lot. Most of them die during childbirth. And apart from the childbirth thing, most of them actually have complications due to the unsanitary equipment that were used to perform this act on them. So most of them carry this infection for a long time. And that infection, it actually causes other things, infertility, all of these things. A lot of things happen to our sisters. The stats are there. The reports are there to confirm it. And not only that, but you have to think about the lifetime trauma, the psychological impact it has on these sisters. And so when you look at all of that, there's absolutely no need. I don't need to sit in front of any zoo. And to all the zoos in Liberia, please don't send something to come kill me in my sleep. But but I don't need to sit before any zoo to tell them that something is wrong. We need to abolish it. We need to stop it. Keep the rest of the tradition going. If it is benefiting society, I see the benefit of that. Keep it going. But don't justify that I need to come to you to get permission before removing this horrible thing that killing people, that killing our sisters, that leaving them infertile for lifetime and psychologically impacted. On that note, I told you guys I was going to destroy you and you can't come back. So on that note, we'd like to say thank you so much for joining Liberia Shall Rise today.
Injustice.
You see injustice we're talking about here. What are you doing?
Corruption in high places. Next time when you become the host, you can deal with that corruption. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. Stay safe. God bless you. And on that note, we say we'll be here next week Sunday. And the hope is there's a report that just came up on the HIV epidemic in Liberia. The new report that just came up. I am speaking with someone right now from the National AIDS Commission. I hope to have that person on our program next week Sunday. They have committed so far to be here on Sunday, but I don't know. If they do show up, they will be on the show and we'll be discussing the HIV epidemic in Liberia. So stay safe. God bless you. And we hope to see you next week Sunday.